We tracked what happened when we mixed molasses-dipped grass clippings with dry leaves in the garden. Most gardeners throw away their grass clippings or watch helplessly as they turn into a slimy, foul-smelling mess in the compost bin. I did too, until I stumbled onto something extraordinary. What if you could take those rejected clippings, add one simple kitchen ingredient, and transform them into the richest compost your garden has ever seen? That's exactly what happened when I mixed molasses-dipped grass clippings with dry leaves, and the results was shocking. Within a month, the experiment produced dark, living humus so good that worms literally migrated into it from the surrounding soil. Here's everything that happened, and how you can replicate this transformation in your own garden. Why grass clippings fail without help. Fresh grass clippings are loaded with nitrogen, which should make them perfect for composting. But there's a problem. When piled together, they mat down, block airflow, and quickly turn anaerobic. That's when you get the rotten egg smell and the sticky slime that makes you regret ever trying to compost in the first place. The nitrogen becomes trapped instead of feeding beneficial microbes, and your pile stalls or worse, becomes toxic to plants. I needed something to kickstart the microbial activity before the grass had a chance to collapse on itself. The molasses solution that changes everything. Molasses is pure carbohydrate energy. When you introduce it to fresh grass clippings, you're essentially ringing a dinner bell for beneficial bacteria. These microorganisms need quick energy to multiply, and molasses delivers it instantly. The bacteria wake up, reproduce rapidly, and begin breaking down the nitrogen in the grass into simpler compounds that plants can actually use. But here's the critical part. They do this aerobically, meaning with oxygen, which prevents the nasty smells and slime. For this experiment, I used a precise formula. I mixed 1 teaspoon of unsulfured blackstrap molasses with 1 liter of water. This created a diluted solution that was sweet enough to feed microbes but not so concentrated that it would cause fermentation. I filled a spray bottle with this mixture and lightly misted a full wheelbarrow of freshly mowed grass clippings until they were damp but not soaking wet. The grass glistened slightly with the sugar coating, and I immediately noticed a mild, sweet smell, replacing the typical grassy odor. Dry leaves became my secret weapon for balance. Alone, leaves decompose slowly because they're packed with lignin, a tough fiber that microbes struggle to break down. But when combined with nitrogen-rich, molasses-coated grass, something remarkable happens. The sugar awakens bacteria that attack the softer parts of the leaves first, while fungi begin colonizing the tougher fibers. Meanwhile, the dry leaves absorb excess moisture from the grass and create essential air pockets throughout the pile. I started with a 6-inch layer of dry leaves at the bottom of our compost area. Then I added 3 inches of the molasses-treated grass clippings. I repeated this pattern until the pile reached about 2 feet tall, always finishing with a final layer of dry leaves on top. This top layer acted as both a moisture trap and an odor barrier. The ratio I settled on was roughly 2 parts dry leaves to 1 part treated grass clippings. Any more grass, and the pile would overheat and kill beneficial organisms. Any more leaves and decomposition would crawl to a near standstill. Within 3 days, I noticed the pile warming up significantly. When I stuck my hand into the center, it felt pleasantly warm, around 120 degrees Fahrenheit. But, what shocked me most was the smell. Instead of the sour, ammonia-like odor that usually accompanies decomposing grass, I detected a faintly sweet, earthy aroma. This was my first sign that aerobic decomposition was happening exactly as I hoped. By day 7, I carefully pulled back some of the top layers to investigate. Small white fungal threads were weaving through the leaf layers like nature's own stitching. The bright green grass clippings had already started turning olive and brown. The leaves, which had been crispy and rigid, were now soft enough to tear easily. The pile no longer looked like yard waste. It looked like it was becoming soil. Around day 20, I lifted the top layer for my weekly turning and found something incredible. Hundreds of red wiggler worms had colonized the pile, especially in the zones where molasses-treated grass met decomposing leaves. I hadn't added these worms. They migrated in from the surrounding garden soil on their own. Worms are incredibly selective. They only enter compost systems that are balanced, aerobic, and free of harmful gases. Their presence told us that our microbes had already done their job, stabilizing the materials into a nutrient-rich food source that worms could safely digest. By day 30, the transformation was complete. What started as sticky grass clippings and crunchy leaves had become fine, crumbly, nearly black humus. The texture felt soft and almost fluffy when I ran it through my fingers. The moisture level was perfect, like a wrung-out sponge. The temperature had cooled to ambient levels, signaling that the hot composting phase had finished. Most impressively, the material was absolutely teeming with life, packed with worm castings and still home to active microbial communities. I applied this finished compost to several garden beds as a test. Within 2 weeks I noticed visible differences. Our clay-heavy beds, which usually remained compacted and slow to drain, suddenly loosened up. Sandy areas that typically dried out quickly now held moisture for days longer. Root vegetables I planted showed stronger, more extensive root systems. The humus acted like a biological sponge, holding both nutrients and water far more efficiently than any compost we'd made before. Start small with this method. Mix 1 teaspoon of unsulfured blackstrap molasses with 1 liter of water in a spray bottle. Lightly coat your fresh grass clippings until damp. Build your pile in a bin or corner with a 6-inch layer of dry leaves, then 3 inches of treated grass. Continue alternating until you reach at least 2 feet in height, ending with leaves on top. Turn the pile weekly to maintain oxygen levels. If it feels dry, add a light sprinkle of the molasses solution, but never drench it. Too much sugar causes fermentation instead of composting. If you smell vinegar or alcohol, turn immediately and add more dry leaves. The odor will disappear within hours. This method works exceptionally well during fall cleanup when both materials are abundant. The molasses stimulates enough microbial heat to keep decomposition active even as temperatures drop, giving you finished compost by spring when your garden needs it most. The simplest ingredients can create the most powerful results. 1 tablespoon of molasses, grass clippings, and dry leaves can turn your yard waste into a living soil factory that feeds your garden for months. If this experiment inspired your composting routine, subscribe to Crop Corner and share this with fellow gardeners who deserve better soil. Your garden is waiting for its transformation.